Sir and my dear friends, today we are the group number 2 of MIS Seminar going to discuss with you about a topic called data flow diagram. Would you like to read a 20-page essay to understand the content of a message, or will you prefer to read a 1-page diagrammatic representation to understand the exact same message? From that point, let's get started the presentation. Let me invite Mr. Divin Giri to take the initial part of our presentation.
Good morning, my dear friends and respected staff. So today we are going to talk about data flow diagrams of DFD, and without any further ado, we will go to the presentation. So data flow diagram presented by Jobin Daju, DPTV, and Darwin Cherry Matthew. So we will go to the first slide. What is data flow diagram? Data flow diagram is known as DFD. It is a small form of data flow diagrams. And next point is a way to model a real world situation. Data flow diagrams can be used as a model for real world situations. Like we can choose a system or we can choose a model from the real world and we can convert into data flow diagrams and DFDs. So next points are they are the interface between the real world activities and an understanding of how it can be converted into a computer system. So first of all, we have to understand the real world activities. That means the real world situations, like I mentioned in the previous point, real world situations. We have to identify those situations, and by using this DFD technique, you can understand the situations and it can be converted into computer systems. That is the point. And next point is DFD can be used to visualize a data processing, and the process data, that is a process data, can be visualized. We can visualize a process data during DFD process. So whenever we trying to work with the data, we can easily clarify or visualize through these steps that included in DFD. So next point is DFD are used to graphically represent the flow of data and business process. So when we take a institution or a system, the DFD's general function or DFD's general method of doing is it represents graphically that the flow of process, the process from the starting or the base or the upper level of a business to the lower level or the lower level to upper level. That graphical representation is shown in DFD, and in DFD there are physical DFD and logical DFD. So this is the first slide. I think you guys got a simple understanding about what is DFD. So we will go to the second slide, and that is differences between DFDs and flowcharts. So DFD and flowcharts are similar, almost similar, not real similar. We will see the differences. First, on DFD, process on DFD can operate in parallel. At the same time, two processes can be operated in DFD, but in flowchart, process on flowchart execute only at a time. There is only one process can be executed in a flowchart. So the second point is DFD shows the flow of data through system. It means the flow of data is shown through the system. DFD can be monitor the flow of data. In DFD, we can monitor the flow of data through the system. So in flowchart show the flow of control. So flowchart are different when compared to DFD. It shows the control of all sequence and transfer of the controls. So these kind of things are shown in flowchart and next point is process of a DFD can have dramatical difference daily, weekly, or demand. Okay, when DFD, in the case of DFD, there is a dramatical difference can be happen. It means a huge difference, and it is not constant. There can be a heavy or huge difference can be occur. When it comes to the flowchart, process on flowcharts are part of a single program with constant timing. So here there is constant timing and all are included. So rather than DFD, there is no huge difference can be happening in this flowchart diagrams. There will be a timing and a consistent result, a consistent functionality for this flowchart. And we will go to the next slide now. Why DFT? So it provides an overview. So these are some points that provides an overview about DFT. So what is a system process? DFT provides a system process data. What kind of data is processed in a system? So first of all, as an overview, this is the point. What data as a system process? Yes, when we take an example of what can we say? We take an example of Facebook. What kind of processing is happening on Facebook or any other kind of system that we taken to study or to the DFD process? So the first point is what is data a system process, and next point is what transformation are performed through this process when data flow diagrams are included or data flow diagrams are constructed. What kind of transformations are performed in this DFD? That is the second overview about DFD, and what data are stored. The third information or the third overview is what data are stored in DFD. We can store. We already said that about a business, about a business firm. What results are produced and where they flow. So the last one is the result and where they have to acquire, where they have to pretend the result to be fulfilled. So that is the final point of an point of overview. What results are produced and where they have to flow. You will see the next slide. And the graphical nature make it good communication tool between. Okay, why DFD? This is a point that makes why DFD is important. It is a graphical nature. It is in graphical nature. Make it a good communication tool between user and analysis. Okay, in a system there will be user and DFD analysis because user need to know about what kind of process, how the process is going to happen, how the process is going on with their system, in their system. So the communication will be proper and effective. And the next is analysis and system designer. So the system is one of the main component of DFD. So the analysis is performed with system designer to acquire better results from this kind of DFD programming. And it is a way of taking the physical view and converting into logical view. We already said that there is two types of DFDs, physical DFD and logical DFD. So that is way of taking the physical view and it converting into logical view. Now we will see what is physical view and logical view. Okay. The physical view is all documents involved. In physical view, there is all documents that an input of DFD that is involved in physical view, and the logical view is that data they contain. The data they contain already in system. That is logical view of DFD. And their main purpose is to communicate with the user the analysis, understanding of the scope of the required system. Whenever we take a system, we have to understand the purpose, a scope about that. So we have to study, we have to implement this DFT technique, data flow diagram technique, to conclude all these results, to identify the purpose, analysis, and to get the better understanding about that. So we will go to the next slide. Here we will see that physical DFT and logical DFT, the difference between physical and logical DFT. First difference is a type of DFT that depicts how the system is implemented. So the difference between physical DFTs and logical DFT. In physical DFT, there is a type of DFT that depicts how the system is implemented. It consists of the details or information with how is the system implemented in a total processing or total process system. That is considered in physical DFT. When it comes to logical DFT, a type of data flow diagram that depicts how the business operates. In here, logical DFT they give total transformation to how the business operates. So we will see the next point. In physical DFT, it focuses on the system implementation. In physical DFT, we see that the implementation is considered And in logical DFT, we see the business operations are mosaic. So when it comes to physical DFT, the next difference or the next key point will be focuses on system implementation. The physical DFT only focuses on system implementation. As we see in the previous point, the system only depicts how the system is implemented. We can connect with the second point, focus only on system implementation. So these 2 points are almost similar to connect. Here business operations are equal to business activity. So it focuses on business activities. As we see in the logical basis of a type of DFT that depicts how business operates. So when the second point comes, we can see that focus on only business activities. That is business operates, how business operates. The business activities, how the activities going to help to business operations. That's the point. And the next point is a process is a software, program, or manual procedures. When it comes to physical DFT, in physical DFT, a process is considered as a software or a program or a procedure. When it comes to the logical DFT, a process is considered as business activity as we seen in the previous points. And the next point, data in physical DFT, data stores are databases, computer files, and paper files. We know that there is database files, that is a huge storage of data in computer systems or core systems. Databases are a huge storage for data. So the data storages are databases, computer files, and paper files in physical DFT. When it comes to logical DFT, a data store is a collection of information. Here in logical DFT, we can think logically, the collection of information. The storage of this data will be the collection of information. If you refer previous points, we can see that physical DFTs are more complex than logical DFTs. So obviously, logical DFTs will be simpler. So purpose of DFT. So we can see that about DFT, crossover shape good or details. This is an example of DFT, how DFT works. We will see this process in upcoming slides by reference. So we will go through this purpose. So the first point is show the scope and boundaries of the system. When we take about study about DFT, whenever we take a system to apply DFT processing, we can find out that how extend the system can go and what is the scope of, what is the main objective of that particular system. So that is the first point, to show the scope and boundaries of system. And the second point is to show that the whole system has been considered. Whenever we take DFT, I already mentioned that it is a graphical representation of a whole system. So it is shown that the whole system has been considered. That is the second point. We will go to the next point. DFT is a communication tool between system analysis and any person who is a part of the system. We already seen this point too. We mentioned about this point. We already mentioned about this point, communication tool between system analysis and any person who is part of the system. DFT is a communication tool between the persons who is participated in the system and the system analysis. System analysis is the one who prepare or presents the DFT process. Okay? That is the third point. And the fourth point is to add the starting point for redesigning a system. Whenever we redesigning a system, a DFT processing is most important for a redesigning phase, because redesigning includes more knowledge, more understanding about the system. So through this data flow diagram, DFT technique, we can add lot of possibilities and find out the redesigning purpose of the system. And the fifth point is to show how data flows in the system. We can see that in the system, DFT provides a data flow about whole system. So the whole system can be shown, can be visibly data flow diagram. So it will be showing how data flows in a system. Next, you will see Darwin Jerome Matthew to present this topic. And I hope you all guys understood what I am trying to say. If you have any doubts, you can personally message me for me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, guys. We will go to the next slides to my fingers, Jody and Navi.
Respected sir and my dear friends, I am Darwin Jerome Matthew and I am continuing the presentation of DFD with the portions advantages and disadvantages of DFD, symbols and components used in DFD and general rules in DFD. First, let's see the advantages and disadvantages of DFD. First advantage is that it describes the boundaries of the system, which means that with the help of the DFD, it is easily understandable the boundaries of the information system. The second point is that the graphical technique used is easy to understand. With the help of graphical techniques, the DFD becomes more easily understandable. The third point is that DFD can provide a detailed replica of the system components, which means that with the help of DFD, it makes more simplified form of the organization function can be drawn and shown with the help of the DFD. The fourth point is that use as the system documentation file, which means that with the help of system documentation with the help of DFD, which makes it helpful for the future purposes. The fifth point is that easy to understand by the technical and non-technical audience, which means that it is easily understandable by any common person. The sixth point, support the logic behind the data flow diagram with the help of the system. With the help of DFD, we can easily make the logics converted into practical. With the support of the DFD, it is possible. Let's see the disadvantages of DFD. First point is that makes the program a little bit confusing concerning the system, which means that it is confusing comparatively to the programs like DSS, TPS, EIS and all. The second point is that it takes comparatively long time creating the DFD diagram, so it's a time consuming process. Now let's move on to the symbols used in DFD. These are essential two different types of notations for data flow diagram, defining different visual representations for processes, data show, entity and data flow. First one, Jane and Sarson data flow are most commonly used for visualizing information system. The second one, Jordan and Code data flow diagram is a type which is used for system analysis and design. Usually the biggest difference between the two ways of drawing data flow diagram is how the process looks. Jane and Sarson's diagram, the process looks like a square with a round corners, whereas Jordan's and Code, where process is a circular form. If we look to the other symbols used in the DFD, we can see that the data show is shown in a rectangular shape, the entity is shown in a square form, and the data flow is shown with the arrow sign. Now let's see what these symbols mean in DFD. First one, entity. Entity is also known as external entity. They are objects outside the system with which the system communicates. These are sources of destination, the system input and outputs. For example, we can say a person who consumes data and provides data in an organization. Another simple example which we can say, when we provide data in the computer by typing in the keyboard, we are providing data and its output is shown in the monitor, which means that we are providing data and we are getting the data as a user. Some general rules for drawing the entity in DFD is that it should be in a rectangular form and it must be named, and there should be no direct flow between two entities ever. Next one is process. A process transforming incoming data flow into an outflowing data flow, which is shown in a circular form or a bubble form, represents a process transforms that applied data changes into a in some way. Process is something which works on data, transforms or converts data into something or something else and stores it. Some basic rules for drawing process in DFD is that it should be in a circular form and it must be properly labeled, and it must not be repeated. Same process should not be repeated in the diagram. Now let's see the another symbol, which is data flow. Data flow are most important thing in the data flow diagram, which shows the flow of information in the data flow diagram, which is shown in an arrow mark symbol. The basic rules of data flow is that the data flow cannot be bidirectional. Input to output, one arrow is shown, which should not be bidirectional, and line containing two arrow mark closings. If you are showing an input to output and output to input, then there should be two lines of arrows in different directions. The second point is that the data flow should be labeled. The third point is the information of the data flow should be precisely labeled. The next rule is that you cannot join two similar input data flow to similar output data flow. For example is that if we draw two entity boxes, we cannot join that with the data flow, which is a wrong one. In between that there should be a process to convert it. Whatever information is passed through should be converted and stored. So there should be, you cannot join two entities of input or similar entities or similar data storage cannot be connected with the data flow. The next symbol is that data store, which means that data store are storehouses of data in a system. They sometimes also labeled as files. Data stores are places where stored information may be stored for temporarily or permanently by the user. Data store is an internal system of the DFD. The basic rule is that it should be in a rectangular form and never shown in the contextual diagram, and no data flow between two data sources. You cannot share means flow of data cannot be between two data sources is not possible. Now let's see the general rules of DFD. The first point of general rule is that no internal logic should be shown in a loop. That is that data flow diagram is not a flowchart. You cannot show if else loop programming constructs in a data flow diagram. Data flow diagram, even though it's considered a functionality of an application, it is a very abstract. You can only show a models. Nothing more than that can be shown in the data flow diagram. Next point is that to keep the data flow diagram uncluttered, doing that you can repeat external entity and data store. For example, if there is two entity of same flow, for example A is the data flow of one entity and second entity flow is also A, then you can use a fork like a joint, a junction like thing to connect it to the process instead of drawing two single lines for making it. For example, if there is two entity and two flows towards a process of same flow of A, then you can draw it like a junction like joint like thing towards the process instead of drawing two single line to keep it neat and tidy. The next point is no process can have only output flow. Bracket in Miracle. You can see the image of Miracle shown on the right hand side of the PPT, in which that on process only the output flow is shown, no input arrows shown, only output arrows shown. So that cannot be happened in the data flow diagram. There should be an input diagram also, input flow should be there. And for the next point is no input flow only, like black hole shown in the right side of the PPT. You can see that only input flow of the towards the process has been shown. Like that cannot be happened in the DFT diagram, which is wrong. And the next point is data cannot be moved directly from one store to another without a process. In between the actions between two entities or two data store, there should be a process, should be there. The last point, data cannot be sync or source. As you can see in the right hand of the PPT, on the data bar, on the data store, only input data or the output data diagrams has been shown, only input and only output, like that. If only input happens, then it's a sync process, which cannot be happened. Only output only from data is happening, then source, that process also cannot be happened. There are certain exemptions which will be discussed by Jobin in level 1 DFD. Thank you.
Respected sir and my dear friends, as a continuation of what Darlingerian discussed with you about the basic general rules which have to be used for creating a data flow diagram, now I am going to discuss with you how to create a data flow diagram. What is a data flow diagram? Data flow diagram is a graphical representation of flow of data through information system, and the data flow diagrams have different levels, such as context level diagram, level 1 diagram, level 2 diagram, level 3 diagram, up to there is level n diagrams will be there in a data flow diagram or in a system. According to the requirements of the system and the complexity of the system, the number of level of data flow diagram will be presented or will be disappeared in a data flow diagram. First of all, we are going to discuss with you about context level diagram of data flow diagram. Context level diagram is also known as level 0 diagram or fundamental diagram. It represents the entire software elements as a single process with input and output of data. The context level diagram of a system is called an entire view. It represents an entire view of a system. A context level diagram is used to establish the context and boundaries to be modeled. The context and boundaries to be modeled are explained in a context level diagram. As you can see here, a context level diagram have only one bubble should be presented in a context level diagram. This round circle is called a bubble in data flow diagram, and there should be some external entities should be identified before drawing the context level diagram, because that are the entities which give some data as input or take some data as output, and these things are called data flow. These arrows are called data flows, which should be properly labeled. And before we discuss about the rules, just think about a scenario. We are the students of Mahatma Gandhi University, and if you are taking a ride in a helicopter over the Mahatma Gandhi University, just think that this is a overview of when you traveled in a helicopter or Mahatma Gandhi University. What will you see? What will you guys will see? You guys see some buildings are there, some people coming to there, some vehicles will go out from there. That only things will you see when you take a ride in a helicopter over Mahatma Gandhi University.
like that. The Mahatma Gandhi University itself in that example is called a process, and the people coming and going out and the vehicles approaching are called some external entities. The basic rules for preparing a context level diagram is that there should be only one process, and the data flows should be labeled. The data flows should be properly labeled. For a better understanding, I am going to discuss with you about an example, a simple example topic, which will continue overall the level 1 DFD and level 2 DFD, the course registration system. As we know that our MBA department is going to commence the admission process of 2020 batch, 2020 batch. For that, there should be a registration process. A registration process must be taken place before admitting each student to the our SMBS. For that, the students are called external entities, one of the external entities in that process, and students will provide the courses and other information regarding them, like what course will they take, like MBA, MPhil, PhD, and what things is the name of their parents, which entrance exam have they taken, and what score they have obtained the qualification exam. Also, there will be after the registration process and after the whole process, and if they are taken to the admission and they got admission, the office staff or the administratives will provide the class schedules to students. That's a normal process, right? They will provide a class schedule which comprises the timetable, which professors will take, which subjects, etc. will be included in that class schedule. Likewise, after the registration process, a class list must be prepared by the office staff to provide it to the other external entities such as faculty and registrar. For the faculty, the details about the class, each students in a class required for better understanding about each student, their experiences, their marks, their qualifications, which they have obtained in the previous stages. And the registrar required this class list for enrolling the students into this course and register each students for this course. Next, we are going to see that the level 1 DFD. Level 1 DFD is a higher level of data flow diagram. The level 1 DFD notates many sub-processes. As you can see here, it notates many sub-processes that together form complete system. It gives an overview of the system. As you can see here, it comprises of in the earlier 4 external entities are there. The basic rule of one of the basic rule of level 1 the data flow diagram is that the external entities which you have traced in the context level diagram must only be presented up to the level n data flow diagram creation. Likewise, these things are called sub-process, in which we can see that from the registration process, it covers the entire system. All the main processes are shown. The data flow should be balanced with respect to context diagram. No new external entities should be there. No new external entities should be there. The data flows from context diagram should be visible. The data flow should be properly visible, and it should be labeled correctly in a better understanding manner. The basic rules for creating a level 1 DFD is that it should consist of 7 plus or minus 2 processes only. That means that the bubbles you have to you will create only have minimum 5, at least have minimum 5 bubbles or a maximum of 9 bubbles in your data flow diagram level 1 DFD. The repetition of data source is completely allowed. Data stores is completely allowed. The process, one process cannot be repeated in the same way in a level 1 DFD. For example, we are going to create the level 1 DFD of course registration system, which will commence soon in our SMBS. First of all, the registration process is divided into many sub-processes. The students give their courses and other information to the enrollment of students to the office staffs or the registration portals. The enrollment of students will be taken place. The individual, after that, after enrolling as the students, the individual course registration information will be given for combining and distribute information. The students, after the combining and distribution of each information, students will get class schedule, and the registrar and faculty will provide by class lists for their respective applications. For like that, after the level 1 DFD, we are break down or decomposing the enrollment of students in the course registration system into level 2 DFD. The level 2 DFD completely describes any one process from the level 1 DFD. Only those processes that merit being expanded need to have level 2 DFD. If it is not necessary, the level 1 DFD, the subprocess in level 1 DFD is not required to create a level 2 DFD. The level 2 DFD is the decomposition of is applied to each process on level 1 DFD. The basic rules for creating a level 2 DFD is that all the data flows into and out of selected process on the level 1 DFD also appear on the level 2 DFD. Got it? Repetition of data sources is allowed. A data can appear as a single source within a level 2 DFD. Single source, that portion is taken by Darling in the earlier slides. As for creating a course registration system, the level 2 DFD is created. As I said earlier, the first process of the level 1 DFD, that is enrollment of students, that's only taken to discuss with you for a better understanding in this limited time. Like this, the courses and other information you have said, seen earlier. In the level 2 DFD course registration system, the office staff or the administratives will obtain student preferences from the courses and other information have they provided to the institution. Like they provided many details such as their marks and other qualification entrance exam. Likewise, many things will be provided by these students to administratives. After checking the list of preferences, administrative staffs will go for a eligibility check. The eligibility check will be done as we can see here in our SMBS. The eligibility check will be according with their qualification, 80 to 20% in the corresponding to exam and group discussion and interview. Likewise, after that also there is a reservation system which gives some preferences to some students that we have seen here. They will all check the eligibility of that student, eligibility of students which have to be admitted into SMBS. After that, the eligible students will get enrolled into the classes. They will get a sure notification about their admission in SMBS, and they are enrolled to the MBA courses or any other courses which provided by our institution. Also, after the eligibility checking, a student record should be prepared and stored by the administrative staffs in the student records. We have seen that in that shelf in the office there is many student records. They have kept it in a file which we brought. These student records are called data stores, in which data are stored. And the other one is which they have to do is a course prerequisition. The course prerequisition may be done and stored by the office staff. And the individual course registration information that you have seen in the level 1 DFD itself, it will be transferred to for the compiling and distribution information process for the enrollment of students and their proper admission in the institution. That's what we have to divide the course registration system, and the level 2 DFD is created in such a manner, in that manner. Also, there should be a requirement for validating the each data flow diagram. You have to ask yourself some questions to validating the each data flow diagram, which is every data flow labeled in a sensitive or a sensitive manner? Does every process have at least one input or at least one output? Likewise, several questions have to be asked and verified by yourself for the validation of each data flow diagrams. As we summarizing the entire slide, you have seen from the beginning that what is a data flow diagram and the different components of the data flow diagram, such as entities, process, data flows, that arrow, data flows, and the data stores in which data are stored, and the general rules which have to be there in consideration for creating a data flow diagram, and the different levels of DFDs, such as context level diagram, level 1 diagram, level 2 diagram, etc. I hope you guys are understood the purpose of data flow diagram, how to create a data flow diagram in this small period of time. Let us know if you have any doubts about the topic or need any further clarification of data flow diagram. Thank you, sir, and thank you, friends, for spending your valuable time in this world's epidemic corona situation. Thank you.